Yes, Rabbi Resnick.
That's him? It doesn't look like him. I wasn't sure.
Open it up, open it up. There it is. All the way down, guys.
Okay.
We're going to begin. The first thing we do is we would do something called cutting kriya. Something precious has been torn away from us, and we're going to go ahead now and symbolically rend a garment or a black ribbon as a sign of our loss. Jill, if you would please rise. Stephanie, come on over. Repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan ha'emet. Praise to you, Lord our God, the true judge. Yeah, there we go. That's all. Hi, everybody. I'm Rabbi Michael Resnick, and we're going to go ahead. I don't know if this makes a difference or not. We're going to go ahead and do the service, and let me explain what we're going to do. We're here for two reasons. The first reason is to bury our dead. The essence of Gregory is not his physical body, it's his soul and his spirit, and those things are in God's hands. But we need to do something with the physical body that took him through life. And in a few moments, I'm going to invite you to participate in doing the burial. We'll talk about more of that in a second. Right now, we have a couple of prayers we need to say. And the first prayer is the 23rd Psalm. It's a prayer in which we remind ourselves of our own strength. This is a terrible loss. I'm not going to sugarcoat this and say, oh, it's for the best, or he's in God's hands now. It's not a good thing when someone young dies. It's just not. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And so this is a really rough time for everybody. And the prayer we read is one about strength and resilience. It reminds us of our ability to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and to go on. It's still a beautiful world, right? We still have a lot to live for. And so we begin to tell ourselves that we can get through this terrible time, that we can find a way to find meaning and love and support from friends and family and take the next step. So that's why we say this psalm. It's a psalm about strength and it's a psalm about resilience. Mizmor David Adonai roi lo echzar bino deshe yabitzeni al mi menuchot yanachaleni nafshi yishavev. Yancheni v'magale tzedek leman shemo gam ki elech begates al mavet lo irara ki atai madi. Shivtecha mishantecha menachamuni ta'arok lefanai shochan neged sorarai dishanta v'shemen roshi kusiravaya. Aktov v'chesed yirtafuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. He gives me repose in green meadows, leads me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. And though I walk, as I do now, through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and staff comfort me and strengthen me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes, and you anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. The next prayer we recite is also for us. It's a prayer called Esai Naim, and it speaks about our resilience physically and emotionally to get through difficult times. It's symbolized in the prayer by speaking of the sun smiting you by day or the moon by night. The sun being, if I stood out here for the next 3 hours, I'd plot, right? And so the idea is that we will find the way to physically get through this ordeal and also emotionally to get through this ordeal. Shir hama lo tesai naim elahari me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. I turn my eyes to the mountains from where my help will come. My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will neither slumber nor sleep. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you and strengthen you and ennoble you, your comings and your goings, now and forever. We now take a few moments, everybody, to speak about Gregory. Let me explain. Many people think that you come to the cemetery to leave something behind. That's not why we're here. I mean, yes, we have to leave something behind, but we also have to take something with us, and that is who Gregory was, what we loved about him. What was it that we want to carry on of his life and ours going forward? We have something to take away with us today, not just leaving something. And that's why we have a eulogy, because a eulogy reminds us of who that person was and what we loved and what we want to hold on to. So we're going to have a few people say a few words today, and I'd like to begin with Father Eric to please come up and say a few words.
Thank you for being here. I want to say from the minute my son came into my life, we shared many fun times. Gregory and I used to play paintball together, softball, and eventually he would shoot BB guns. Gregory was one of the kindest people I ever knew, had a kind soul. Gregory always took those who were less fortunate than himself under his wing. He repeatedly insisted on feeding the homeless, bringing them food and drink just to help them out. He felt so sorry for them. If we were driving and passed a person in need, Gregory would always tell me, "Dad, slow down. Give that person whatever you have, whatever change I had in my cup holder." He took this very seriously, and I will never forget his earnestness from a very young age. It was real and it was beautiful. One of my most treasured memories of Gregory was that we were able to communicate and share news issues of the day. We spoke daily while Gregory was making his security rounds, and we chatted about all types of topics, including politics, social events, and cultural issues. I was incredibly gratified to discover that my son had a rare depth of understanding and compassion that he was able to express so freely and with such feeling. Gregory's wonder at how the world worked and why events played out as they did was refreshing and stimulating. I will especially miss our many heartfelt conversations. I will also cherish my most recent memory of Gregory and his girlfriend Fanaya when we shared this past Thanksgiving together. Gregory enjoyed both the company and the meal. It was a lovely time filled with kind thoughts and gratitude that we were all together. Rest in peace, my baby boy, and I know I will see you sometime in the future. Love, Dad.
I'd like to invite Jill, his mother, to come up and say a few words.
Gregory entered this world and our lives on July 13th, 1992. From the moment of his birth and throughout his too short life, Gregory was a person people were naturally drawn to and immediately liked. Was it the genuine warmth and caring he exuded? His quirky and often bizarre sense of humor? General uniqueness? Or a combination of those traits and more that made him so likable? Gregory's charm can't be defined, but I always knew no matter where he went, he would always make and maintain friendships. Whether with others his age, adults, or the elderly, Gregory always made a good and lasting impression. To his immediate family, he was our Googie Bear. I don't recall the origin of the nickname, but it was certainly fitting. He was the most loving and caring child a mother could hope for. He expressed his love unabashedly and often. He expressed his love to everyone in his life, often in his own unique, goofy way. An example of Gregory expressing his love in his own unique way was to bestow a nickname upon you. Uncle George was Uncle Boris. Gam was Bambi. Jackson was Johnson. And I was Phyllis. I don't recall questioning where he came up with these seemingly random nicknames because that was just Gregory being his unique self. Gregory was the warmest and most loving son, brother, grandson, uncle, and even dog father. Anyone who is fortunate enough to come into his orbit understands my sentiment more than my words can express. Gregory and his Papa Herbie had a special relationship and bond. Papa Herbie would help Gregory complete his homework daily at aftercare and encouraged him to participate in sports. Spending time with Gregory was Papa Herbie's greatest pleasure, and the feeling from Gregory was mutual. While our family model was not always traditional, we made it a priority to let the children know they were loved and supported. That is especially true of Papa Herbie and Gam. In his adolescent years, Gregory may not have recognized the familial love that surrounded him, but as he matured, he realized, appreciated, and reciprocated the love that he received in his formative years. In August of 2021, less than 6 months ago, Gregory contracted COVID. It was a terrifying time in general, and especially a terrifying time for Gregory. So terrifying was the diagnosis that Gregory was not certain he would survive the virus and felt compelled to write his own obituary, or as I prefer to view it, a final love letter that he sent to his father and me. I will share with you Gregory's own words that I feel best define the person he was in both context and content. Hi guys, if I die from this, I love you guys and want you to know that. The world is going crazy right now with all of this going on. It's very scary not to know what is going to happen. I feel okay right now, but I want to prepare for the worst case scenario. At least I know I have a mom and dad and a whole family who love me, and with that I can be at peace. I don't want to end up hospitalized and on a ventilator. I tried to take all precautions necessary, but I guess it wasn't enough. It's not a good feeling knowing if the worst happens, I won't be able to see my family ever again. I will be able to see my grandpas and grandma and great aunt and uncle. So I guess that's something positive to look forward to if I'm doomed. Again, I love you guys, and hopefully everything will be okay. COVID was but one challenge Gregory faced in his life. My feeling is that he had more than his fair share of challenges, or as we called them, storms. Despite the many storms he had to overcome and the ever-present fear of yet another storm looming, he never lost his strength or grace. My son lived his life on his own terms. He was not a rebel. He was not an iconoclast. He was a free and loving spirit who knew what was right for him and was true to himself. Though we congregate today with broken hearts, we should find some solace in having known a young man who was strong enough to live life on his own terms, yet always considerate of the feelings of those around him. If Gregory was here today, I believe he would share with you what he shared with me. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Writing one's own eulogy is both eerie and tragic. If there is any solace we should take from Gregory's words, it is that he passed in peace knowing he was loved very much by his family and everyone who knew him. I believe there is a heaven and that Gregory is in the warm embrace of his grandfathers, grandmother, great aunt, and uncle. We love you dearly, our sweet angel, and hope that you will be looking over us and sending us signs of your presence. Not a day will go by without you in our thoughts. Until we meet again, we love you, Googie Bear, also known as Gregory Justin Baime.
I want to mention that in the Jewish tradition, writing one's own eulogy is actually a common practice. It's called an ethical will, and it's something that Jews do. They say what's important to them, and they write it down, and they share it with the next generation or with the people around them that they love. And I think it was really clear in this case what was the essence of Gregory, which is he loved you guys. Family meant a lot to him. He loved people, and people loved him. And, you know, we live in a world that puts such an emphasis on things and stuff as opposed to relationships. And Gregory got it right. He understood when he was saying goodbye, what he thought was going to be goodbye, it was, hey, I love you. You know, that's what mattered to him. And so, guys, let that be a reminder. Stuff comes and goes, it breaks, stuff. What matters is the love that we share with our family and people closest to us. And let Gregory's example be a light to all of us going forward, to always speak and share and make sure that the people that we love know that they're loved and that we tell them on a regular basis. We're going to do the burial now, and let me explain what we do. I have some earth from Israel, which I'll sprinkle on. This is entirely optional on your part. If you want to participate, here's how we do it. Go ahead and put this in. Please watch your step here. We take the shovel upside down one time and then 3 scoops. The people who work here at the cemetery are fine people, but it's up to us to symbolically tuck Gregory in. Otherwise it'll be the machinery, and I think this is more personal. So if you would like to come forward one at a time, please come up and we'll, again, it's entirely optional. When you're done, place the shovel back into the earth on your own. Aaron, go ahead and put it back in. your step, guys. It's a little uneven.
This way first.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to invite you now to please rise. We're going to recite the El Malei Rachamim. It's a prayer in which we ask God to do exactly as Jill said, to keep Gregory's soul safe and reunite him with loved ones. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Beromamim, Hamsei Menucha, Nechona Taka Kafei Ashchina, Bamalo Kedushim V'Torim, Kazahara Kiyam Mazhirim, Ehet Nishmat Gregory, Ben Yisrael V'Yehudit, Shehalach Le'olamo B'Gan Eden Menuchato. Ana Baal Rachamim, Mahastirechu B'Seter Kanefecha Le'olamim, V'yitzro b'tzror chachaim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkevo v'nomar amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Gregory, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. As we say, Amen. We're going to now recite the Mourner's Kaddish, which is basically not a prayer for the dead, but a prayer of appreciation, of gratitude. We're grateful for Gregory's life, for the time that he spent with us, the love that he shared, and we thank God for the time that we had. So those of you who know it, or if you have a card, feel free to join with me. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabam v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mivorach Leolam U'ameo Maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. O say shalom bimromav, huya say shalom aleinu, vel kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our service. I want to end with the traditional expression, Hamakom yinachem etchem b'tokshav le'tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you with all the mourners in Zion and Jerusalem. It's a way of saying at a time of personal loss, you're not alone. You have each other, you have your friends, and I hope you'll lean on the people near you to help you through this tough time. Okay, may Gregory's memory be a blessing. May we make Gregory's memory into a blessing. Give goofy names to people you love. Find a way to tell the people that you love them. March to your own drummer, like he did, and that will keep a little bit of Gregory alive in each and every one of us. Thank you, everybody. We should be together for Simchas in the future, and I'm sorry for your terrible loss. Okay, everybody. This concludes our service.